Hello everyone, this is Eggert, and we're back here on the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Hello everyone. We skipped last week. I am very sorry we had to skip. I had a bit of a cold, my son was sick, and it was just not the best stream day. So here we are, back for another day. I believe we have this one and one more probably stream to do. I think it's 2 more chapters. So let's get into this and see what's going on. There's so many questions to answer, and as always, keep in mind I'm not the best, especially with my mouth sometimes getting dry or cottony by the end of it all. I'll do my best with the speaking. And on that note, I just realized I forgot my drink. Just 1 second. I will definitely need that. Okay, I am back. Needed that. We would not get very far otherwise. And there's a chance I'll cough still a little bit. I have a lingering cough that will kicks in every once in a while. Oh, Gina, how are you holding up? Starting to feel quite warmly towards her frequent cold shoulders now. Ginny! Are you alright? Why aren't you saying anything? What's the point, eh? Why go all this trouble and fight so hard for the likes of me? What? Well, you saw it. That picture. What picture? Oh, you mean this. The photograph taken by Hurley's red-handed recorder. Well, I didn't think I would have captured a scene like this, that's for sure. It's hopeless. Anyone who sees that's gonna think I did it, ain't they? Well, I won't pretend it wasn't a bit of shock when the prosecution first presented it to the court. Surely you have your doubts about me now. You can't think I'm innocent. Of course I can. You don't believe us. Ginny, why don't you talk to us? Tell us what really happened that night. Runa's cleverly managed to piece together a lot of new information, but still, we'd really like to hear it from you. Alright then. It was after we had that dinner together at your place, right, Iris? Then we had a chat up in your office, didn't we? Yes, I remember. After that, I just couldn't get to sleep. So I slipped out and went down the street to the 2-to-1, the Windy Bank's place, and had to know if Iris' story was there or not. Hound of the Baskervilles. I don't know what it's about or nothing. But if you ask me, there's something in it that Sholmes don't like. Something what he don't want people reading. That's why he lied to Iris about sticking it in a lug with Windybank for safekeeping. At least that's what I thought at the time. So you broke into Windybank's. I just had to know if it was there or not. I mean, I had no idea all of that was going to kick off, did I? I struck the lock and snuck inside. It was dark, as you like in there. I gave the oil lamp on the counter a bit of wick, and that's when. What do you think you're doing? Ah! I nearly died. I did. Next thing I knew, I'd grabbed the gun off the counter and was waving it up in there like I don't know what. Ah, you're the girl who was in here this afternoon. I didn't think pickpockets were in for armed robbery. The mantle script. Have you got it here? Did Sholmes leave a little papers with you? A story. I beg your pardon? The hounded some for another. If it's here, I want to see it. I'm sorry, young lady. I'd sooner die than relinquish an article belonging to one of my customers. I don't want it. What would I do with it anyway? I just want to see if it's here, that's all. Oh, you want to see it, do you? I want to know if Shom's really pawned in here or not. Please, just let me see it and I'll go. Oh, very well then. But for pity's sake, stop waving my gun around, would ya? So then the old cove unlocked the storeroom, and we both went inside. And it was there, alright, the mantle script. Sholmes wasn't lying after all. You did all that just to check for me, Jenny? Anyway, then there was a bit of a kick-up out in the main bit of the shop. The Skulkin brothers arrived at the scene, yes? What was that noise? Someone's breaking in! Dear me, is there some burglar convention here tonight that I don't know about? I think I forgot to shut the door behind me. Sorry. I'd better go and take care of it. Could I possibly have my gun back? Oh, well, I'll come with you and... Now, don't be foolish, young girl. You must stay right here. Don't leave this room under any circumstances. And with that, he took the gun out of my hands and walked back out into the shop. I hung back in the storeroom like he said, straining my ears in the dark, hear what was going on. Felt like they got in a bit of a scrap. I started to think I should help, see? I was just about to go out of the storeroom myself when... I heard a couple of shots go off. Two, I think. Almost at the same time. And then there he was, right at my feet, laying face down on the floor. I was right next to the storeroom door, so I slammed it and shut the lock as quick as you like. Because you thought whoever had shot Mr. Windybanks would come for you. Yeah, so I went to grab the old cove's gun. Figured I'd put up a fight at least. When I got a better look at him, I knew. She fainted from him being dead. Windybank was a goner. I felt funny in my head all of a sudden, kind of dizzy. And after that, I don't remember nothing. That must be when you passed out, Gina. Gina, I can't speak. If I hadn't done what I done, the whole cove might still be alive. Did you tell the police everything you just told us? Of course I did. They didn't believe a word of it, did they? All he said was, if I kept telling them lies, I'd make things even worse for me. It'll be alright, Jenny. Don't worry. Just stay strong a little longer. Bruno's about to put the real culprit through the mail. That cove was there in the afternoon. That Eggert Benedict. I still remember how he looked at me like I was nothing. He was there that night. We don't know his real name yet. I'm convinced that he's involved somehow. Anyway, thank you for telling us what happened, Gina. I appreciate your honesty. What? You can leave it all to Runo's capable hands now, Jenny. Mr. Nara Odo? Yes? How come you trust me? I don't get it. I mean, have you forgotten what happened here before? Come on, it's only 2 months ago. Mr. McGilden, we told you a whole pack of lies. And you got the bog trotter off with him, even though he was a killer. No, I could never forget that. Oh. I did what I thought was best at the time. But the pain of the error of judgment doesn't get any easier to bear. Still, don't forget that I also made you a promise. I told you that I'd be on your side to the bitter end, no matter what. But what if I'm a lion? You'd be working to get another killer off the hook for all you know. I was once in your position, Gina. I was the accused in a trial. You were? Twice, actually. Before I left Japan, I was accused of murder. And strange as it might sound, the circumstances of the crime were pretty, yeah. Glad I caught myself. I was sure that no one would believe it wasn't me who done it. Oh, Runo. But there was one person who stood up for me, who believed in me, and was prepared to defend me. My best friend. Rinosuke, no one believes in you more than I do. Leave this to me. All you need to do is put your faith in me, and I'll do the rest. I was so happy. I cried. But even then, somewhere inside me, I couldn't help thinking. Surely he doesn't really believe in me. Not completely. But I was wrong. As soon as my trial began, it was obvious that he had absolutely unwavering belief in me as we sat over her sweating. And in turn, I developed an absolute unwavering belief in him. Since then, I came to realize, if you want someone to believe in you, you have to believe in the other person first. What are you saying? I promise you, Gina, that no matter what happens, I'll keep believing in you. So you don't need to worry. I won't let you down. Even though I'm a diver and a no good liar, you're not like McGilded. I know that. Eh? That's right, you're our friend, Jenny. Iris. We know you better than you think. And we've come to the conclusion that you're someone we can trust. Yes? That's really all we need to know. Exactly. Mr. Naruto, Oh, she's crying. Defendant Gina Lestrade and her legal representative. Court proceedings are about to resume. Please head into the courtroom immediately. Yes, of course. Thank you. Alright. I've been both a defendant and a defending lawyer in my time. I knew only all too well how hard it was to put all your faith in another. I also knew just how hard it was to bear the burden of another putting all their faith in you. This is it at last, the final chapter, the final battle. Wish me luck, Susato-san, and I hope you're watching over me too, partner. I think there's 2 more chapters. That makes it sound like this might be the last one. We'll see. I hereby call this court to order as we resume the trial of Miss Gina Lestrade. Lord Menzix, have you successfully subpoenaed the witness? The subpoena was delivered to the communication station where the man worked immediately, my lord. However, the heavy rain has delayed the arrival of his carriage, it would seem. I see. Then let's turn our attention to Inspector Gregson's precise of the case heard by the court this morning. The glaring omission of the 3rd bullet in your report is a serious blunder, Inspector. Hello, Wear Machine. How are you today? Subpoena. Okay. Well, admit it's not a word I use often. So. Yes, I can only apologize, my lord. And although the defense's chemical analysis of the blood at the scene makes for a compelling argument, I cannot permit such untried methods to be used as evidence in my courtroom. Uh-oh. Huh, it's a big mistake to cross Hurley and me. A very big mistake. My lord, the subpoenaed witness has just arrived in the building. Your parents both had jobs in the justice system, so you've heard these words a lot. Ah! That's interesting now. Thank you, officer. I show him to the stand without delay. Mr. Egbert Benedict. Eggert Benedict. I didn't expect to be crossing paths with him again so soon, and certainly not like this. I wonder what his real name is. I wonder if he's like the brother to these guys. Because they keep mentioning a brother. Thank you for complying with the court's subpoena at such short notice, sir. But of course, my lord, as an upstanding member of the London Society, it's my pleasure to oblige. Now, kindly state your name and occupation for the record. Ashley Graydson, Communications Officer. Graydon, not Grayson. Ashley Graydon. Mr. Graydon and I both work at London Central Communication Station. Now, perhaps somebody would kindly explain what all this is about. You were apprised of the situation by the court officer on your way here, I presume? Yes, I was. Something to do with a murder that took place at the pawnbrokers on Baker Street? And some nonsense about me having been there at the night in question? That is the accusation, indeed. This really is beyond a joke, you know. Very well. Without further delay, the court will hear your testimony now, Mr. Graydon. You will respond to the accusation made against you under oath. Gladly, my lord, gladly. Everyone has such odd moves at times. Things that they do. I think that's what kind of gives the game its fun charm at times. Naturally, I have occasioned to make use of the pawnbrokering services from time to time. It is ridiculous. It is so funny and ridiculous. It is so fun, though. But are you seriously suggesting I concluded with these thugs to break into the place on the night of the murder? I have no intention of admitting to such an outrageous accusation. Hydrate, thank you. Two stretches, got it. Okay, got my hydrates and the stretches in. There we go. Get us all ready to go. I still have a little bit of like a tickle in my throat from my cold last week. So unfortunately I do still have a little bit of a cough that pops up once in a while. I'll probably be fairly aggravated by the end. You're being considerate, yes. Especially after the other day. But I do have some cough drops in case I get to go and at it later a little bit. Even if certain parties here claim that my blood was found at the scene, some Scaramouch detectives homebrewed tinker can hardly be taken as a serious evidence. Hello, Tanker Dude. How are you doing today? Thank you for the follow. They use such interesting wording sometimes, too. I don't think I've ever had to... How to pronounce that one. Glad to have you here, Tanker Dude. Are you having a great day? Great night? So you deny the accusation completely, do you? I must say, I am dismayed. For the highest court in the land to be swayed by this self-professed detective's toy? It was the will of the jury, and our great British justice system demands that the jury's will is upheld. I am. How about you? How goes the streaming going? Well, we just started just a few minutes ago, really. It's not been very long yet. Just now starting to get back into the courtroom. We talked with our with the accused just a moment ago, figured out her side of the story some. So I'm doing pretty well also. Thank you, Wear Machine. You gifted a sub to Tanker Dude. Thank you so much for doing that. Much appreciated. Then it would seem you have the misfortune of a most inept assembly of jurors today. By golly. How long am I expected to be detained here? If, following the defense's cross-examination, your involvement in the matter has not been established, you'll be free to leave immediately. Good, then I shall be away in time for afternoon tea. Some small consolation, at least. Let's not hold up Mr. Graydon any longer than necessary, counsel. Proceed with the cross-examination. So, we meet again, Mr. Eggert and Benedict. Or is it Mr. Graydon? My apologies, you are? Rinosuke Naruhodo, defense lawyer. We have met. If you say so. Ashley Graydon. Enchante. So. He chucked us his hat. I trust we can conclude this quickly. But I'm not holding your flashy hat while we do. Cross-examination. Naturally, I have occasion to make use of broking services from time to time. Egbert is such a good... Yes, I keep calling him Egbert. I don't know why I keep calling him Egbert. I think I probably did that the last time he popped up too. But yes. Okay. Yes, we even met in the very pawnbrokery where the crime took place on the afternoon of the day in question. Though, of course, you introduced yourself by a different name at the time. You don't look happy about that. It was Mr. Eggert Benedict, I believe. Objection. Oh, he got us off. The witness is here to testify about events that took place that night. Ew. He's under no obligation to answer such unrelated questions. You can't be serious. Thank you, because I certainly do not feel inclined to answer such an inappropriate question. He's going to be evasive, is he? In an effort not to give anything away, this could be tricky. But are you seriously suggesting I conclude with these thugs to break into a place on the night of the murder? Hold it! Vampire Edgeworth takes issues with your questions. Yes, he does take issues with my questions, I guess. He's supposed to be, I think, like a descendant of Edgeworth of some sort. So I wonder if Edgeworth then has vampire in him. Have you seen these two men before? This pair? No, I don't associate with criminals. Says the man who introduced himself as Eggert Benedict. I'd like to know who I have to thank for this. Who made this outlandish accusation against me? The young lawyer here in the black. This is a farce. Headcanon accepted. Edgeworth has vampire blood. Yes. He is part vampire. In the descended somewhere. I don't know how far out he's descended. His idea was to permit an outsider to work in a British court anyway. They really get after me all the time about being Japanese. They really go at it. Well, needless to say, I have no intention of admitting to such an outrageous accusation. Where were you at around 1 in the morning on the night in question, sir? It is past the hour of which I would normally retire. Certainly. I was not in the company of these rapscallions. You're able to prove that? Objection. You're a Japanese teen in the middle of Edwardian England. Yes, I am. They really, like, every time they can say it, they give me a hard time about it, too, that I'm foreign. Listen carefully, my learned Nipponese friend, for you appear to be under a gross misapprehension on this point. What do you mean? The witness maintains he was not at the scene of the crime. He has no obligation to prove his absence. If your accused is that the witness was present at the scene, the obligation lies with you to prove your assertion. You will fulfill that obligation before putting any more unreasonable questions to the witness. Why does he keep dancing? A silent victory wiggle. Thanks. Even if certain parties here claim that my blood was found on the scene. Blood was found on the scene of the crime. There's no question of that. Mr. Shalm's chemical analysis has positively identified the substance as such. But I'm not the only human to have blood running through my veins, am I? How you can be sure the blood is mine? Could equally be the blood of one of these two miscreants. Every individual blood has a slightly different composition, it seems. Mr. Shalm's chemical is able to he cut me off. I didn't click that. Spare me the science lesson. Who is this Shalm's character anyway? Oh, I assumed all Londoners would know that name. He's a a renowned detective. So even you are unable to bring yourself to say great detective. A great detective, you say? Now, we're in the realm of fairy tales, are we? Ooh. Oh, what are you on about? Excuse me. Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Skulkin? What? Me? No, Mr. Skulkin next to you. Right, I've had it up to here with this. How many times have I got to tell you? Yes, I know, you're not big, bruv, sulky. Mr. Nash Skulkin. Huh? Go blimey, Governor. You what? Is it not the case that when Mr. Graydon just spoke, a thought went through your mind? Would you care to share the thought with that thought with the court? Me thoughts? I don't know. I don't have none of them. It must have been him. You what? Can't blame him. Mr. Nash Skulkin, answer the question, please. What went through your mind when Mr. Graydon just spoke? Nothing, honest, Gov, nothing. I was just thinking. If you have his arm around like that much more, it'll open the wound again, that's all. Oh no. He's admitting he got shot. What wound? Where he took the bullet, of course. It was only 2 days ago. I ain't gonna be healed up yet. Uh-oh. I was, well, was worrying for him and... Oh. Mr. Graydon, did you hear that? What? Your comrade is worried about you, it seems. On account of your injured arm. My lord? Yes, Mr. Graydon? I have no idea what these two wretches are talking about. Certainly, I shouldn't be expected to answer anything in relation to their mindless insinuations. We know that someone other than the victim was hit by a bullet at the scene of the crime 2 nights ago. And from the height of the bullet hole in the wall, that person was likely hit in the upper arm or thereabouts. Perhaps you'd allow a court official to examine your arm, sir. The left arm that you're currently clasping with your right hand as if it's in pain. No, I refuse. You have shown no evidence whatsoever that links me to these common thieves. We just got a confession over here that might be a little questionable. Accordingly, I'm not obliged to permit any such invasion of my privacy. As I've already said, I'm completely uninvolved in all this. Never had anything to do with the pawnbrokery where this fellow was killed whatsoever. You can't refuse. Show your arm or you're guilty. Yep. I like that Van Zeeks isn't, like, stopping us. Because honestly, Van Zeeks will help us once in a while when he thinks someone is, maybe bad. But we'll see. We'll see if he comes and actually helps us a little bit later on. I'm just glad he's not stopping us yet. I take offense at the insinuation that I was in any way involved. You claim to have nothing whatsoever to do with Mr. Windybank's pawnbrokery. My lord, the defense would like that last statement to be added to Mr. Graydon's formal testimony. I'm pretty sure... Look at the court records. Because I think we have a picture with him, don't we? No, not a picture. No, no picture, I guess. I had something. Oh, another hydrate. Okay. Thank you, Tanker. Thank you for the hydrate. Because we had some sort of picture of him, I thought. Because we was able to show the communication lady last time and she recognized him. Very well, counsel. Continue with your testimony, Mr. Graydon. You have a lot of points. Yes, you do. Very much so. That is a lot. The points actually rack up very fast, don't they? Seems like you can use them, but then they don't disappear quickly. The bottom line is, I have never had anything to do with the pawnbrokery established where the man was killed. Never had anything to do with it? Thing is, we know he's lying there, and the police officer beside him was there that day also. Yes, you are here a lot, yes. You forgot that I was there, Mr. Graydon, on the very afternoon of the incident. Obviously, I'm not a complete stranger to the pawnbrokers. I'm currently on the lookout for an armchair to furnish my study. No, you were there to redeem an article. I have no idea what you're talking about. Yes. He was there. He knows what it was about.
Excuse me.
Do you have something to add, Inspector? Oh, the magic fish and chips. Come again, Sunshine? You were there too, in fact, weren't you, Inspector? That afternoon. Well, yes, I do remember meeting yourself and the pawnbrokers that afternoon. You, your young Japanese assistant, and the accused were all present, as I recall. And at that time, this witness, Mr. Graydon, was trying to acquire a particular article. Well now. I'm afraid I don't remember too clearly. What? But you must. I'm not gonna lie and pretend I don't remember something I don't. going on here? I do like the addition of being able to question the other witnesses when they remember stuff. It is fun. It is interesting when it helps. The whole jury part is interesting too. There's a whole bunch of different stuff you can do now. So, I'm trying to think. In the first game, you got to where you could like use your necklace to like uncover lies that people would do and everything. There's things that you can do, like you learn to do things throughout the game. This one doesn't have the necklace thing. I'm trying to think. That stone, that green stone that May gives you. So, it doesn't have something like that where you're like trying to unlock people's lies and all this, but it has the different elements to it for sure, where you can question more people. Gregsy showed us a picture before, didn't he? You know, from the cameras that Hurley installed in Windy Banks. Yes, of course. Indeed. And the gentleman picture bears a striking resemblance to the witness, I must say. He's even wearing the same outfit. Exactly, which proves that Mr. Graydon was in the shop on the afternoon in question. Okay, there's the picture I was talking about. At no point have I denied that fact. I merely entered the shop to pursue the article on sale and have a word with the broker. Nothing more. This makes no sense. I understand why Mr. Graydon might be trying to cover his tracks. But why would Gregson be trying to avoid giving testimony about what happened? If he says that it's his twin, he'd better prove it. Yes. Yes, very much. That's all he's going to say on the matter, is it? What do you think, Bruno? I think he has no intention of telling us anything. He's well aware that the less he says, the less chance he has to give himself away. The complete opposite of Hurley, then. He seems to think that the more he says, the better. I'm missing Sherlock. I want him back. Wish he'd come back from wherever he ran off to. Well, at least I managed to prise a little more information from these witnesses' lips. All thanks to Skulkin brothers. Yes, they were the key to it after all. So he says he had nothing to do with Windy Banks. Well, we know that's not true. Perhaps now would be a good time to have a proper look at the court record. Good idea. You never know what tiny scrap of information can become a valuable weapon. Okay, let's...
Hold it!
Oh, yeah. I want to look at the court record. So... She was trying to get the coat. And then we have the blood samples, but they told us that it wasn't really... Isn't he still in the hospital? No, actually. At the end of one of the chapters, 2 chapters ago, you see he was actually up and about. We've not been able to find him at the hospital anytime. He was up and about, and he actually had a few words that he said to Miss Susato before she left back for Japan. I don't know it's kind of a mystery what's going on with him, but yeah, I do not know what he's got going on. Close. So hopefully he'll pop back up. He didn't look that injured. He was up walking around. Okay, let's see here. Look at that. We also have this. That had his blood on it. I wonder if that would get a rise out of him to show that. Gregson did not want that in there either. Okay, let's get past this part. I didn't want this one.
Objection!
Yep. Objection. Get past this. Outrageous accusations. I want to show him. Hopefully, he doesn't give me a strike. I want to present back. Present.
Objection.
I want to see what he thinks of this. Have you ever seen this disc before, Mr. Graydon? Why? Is it supposed to mean something? This disc was, until the day of the murder, in pawn in Mr. Windybank's shop. It was redeemed by the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, that afternoon. However, somebody mysteriously appeared to try to take it from her. That somebody was you, of course, wasn't it, Mr. Graydon? Oh, serious music. As I have reiterated numerous times now, you are mistaken. That was not me. I have never seen that disc before in my life. It may have escaped your notice, but there is a small smear of blood on the disc. Oh yes, resulting from the abrasion of the thumb, perhaps. That's right. The surface of the disc is covered in hundreds of tiny metal bumps. In the skirmish to acquire the disc, the thumb of the person who tried to take it suffered minor lacerations. So, while the disc bears the remnants of the skirmish in the form of a smear of blood, the thumb of the person in question must bear the remnants also in the form of a scratch. Good gracious, indeed it must. He didn't think of that at all. He's so shocked too, his hair flew up. Mr. Graydon! You refused to allow the court officer to examine your arm before. Are you now going to refuse to allow us to examine your thumb? Because I have no doubt that it bears a small scratch consistent with the smear of blood on this disc. Well, well. It would seem I underestimated you. What is the meaning of this? So, you admit it now. You admit you have a scratch on your thumb from when you attempted to take the disc from the defendant. Order, order! Well, Mr. Graydon? I would appear there has been something of a misunderstanding here. I did not attempt to take the disc, as you put it. No, quite the reverse. What are you trying to say? Oh, she took it back from him, is what it was. Really quite simple, you see. The disc was mine from the outset. Is there some crime in taking an item that you own out of the pawn? What? It would seem, Mr. Graydon, that in this piece of evidence, my learned friend has established a link between yourself and the incident. Accordingly, you'll tell the court everything you know about this disc now. As you wish. Though I'm quite sure it has nothing whatsoever to do with the pawnbroker's murder. There's a note on the disc saying, "For McGilded," but the item belongs to me. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, the filthy gutterling, on the day in question. I proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later the same night. Did I hear you correctly, sir? McGilded, you say? The famous Landon philanthropist who perished in this very courtroom 2 months ago after being acquitted of a distinctly mesly murder? Yes, my lord. The one and the same. Mr. Graydon, are you saying that Mr. McGilded and yourself were acquainted? Yes, that's correct. Order! Well, I certainly didn't expect to hear that name uttered here in my courtroom again. According to what Gina told us, the disc was placed in pawn on that fateful night 2 months ago. McGilded himself gave instructions to deposit it at the Windybanks. It's funny that Mr. Graydon here is claiming the disc belongs to him then, isn't it? In all likelihood, he's lying. So he appeared that afternoon at Windybanks in order to get his hands on McGilded disc for some reason. Counsel, you will commence your cross-examination, please. There's a note on this saying, "For McGilded, but the item belongs to me." Would you care to explain how this belongs to you? As you will observe, a communications officer, such as myself, commands a fine salary. Alright, you have a good night and you sleep well. Thanks for stopping in and thank you for doing the sub and everything. It's always great to have you here. You are certainly exquisitely dressed, sir. So you see, I have little need to make use of the services provided by the pawnbrokery trade. However, I did once find myself in difficulties having misplaced my purse while on an errand, which is why I pawned my fine black overcoat to the broker in question. You claim that was your overcoat? Obviously, and in my haste I clean forgot that the music box disc was in its pocket. And yeah, there is a note on it that reads, "For McGilded." And we want to support you, and I can't be the only person he spams with hydrates. Aw, thank you. Yes, I will take the hydrates from both of you. That's fine. I'm a collector of rare, unusual music box music. I first met Mr. McGilded at a gentleman's club in the city. I was interested to discover that he shared my penchant in that area. Good night, wear machine. You sleep well. So, the disc in question. It's a pre-production sample. I promised to let Mr. McGilded hear it. But then you forgot that it was in the pocket of the overcoat you were forced to pawn? Yes, exactly. Gina didn't mention any of that in her testimony 2 months ago, did she? No, because Ms. McGilded had threatened her to keep her mouth shut. Which means that if we dig too deeply here, it's going to expose Gina's perjury. Oh dear. This is complicated, isn't it? Let's leave it alone for the time being. The redemption ticket was stolen by me by the accused filthy goodling on the day in question. So you're saying that Mrs. Strayed lifted the ticket from your pocket or bag? That's right. Despite being mindful of danger when walking in the Salbrius area her kind frequent, Mrs. Strayed did no such thing. Well, of course you take that stance, being the girl is a regular offender. You came to the pawnbrokery that day prepared with all the information you needed to identify the defendant. You were looking for her. That's what brought you to Windy Banks. To get your hands on Mr. McGilded's disc. My learned friend is a veritable font of nonsense. Nonsense. I concur with the prosecution. Counsel, you will refrain from conjecturing in that way. Is that clear? Yes, my lord. Then I will continue with my testimony for what possible use it can be. I proceeded to one of the shops in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. Had you ever been to Windy Banks before? Only once, for the purposes of pawning something, but like many, I enjoyed browsing in such establishments. So when you noticed that the pickpocket had taken your ticket, you chased after her? Is that correct? Yes, that's right. I didn't notice at first, of course, such is the art of the pick purse. When I did, I headed to the pawnbroker's at once, in order to reclaim my coat before the thief could. I was merely trying to recover what was rightfully mine in the first place. He can say what he likes because he knows no evidence to contradict him on this. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. Yes, it was taken by Inspector Gregson here, wasn't it? That's right. This was the very man. Apparently the police are collecting anything that has connection to Mr. McGilded as evidence.
Excuse me.
Is something wrong, Inspector? Oh, well, what did you mean? Last remark Mr. Gregson made in his testimony seems to trouble you in some way. No, it didn't. Nothing. Leave it alone. Let me ask you this, Inspector. Why is Scotland Yard gathering Mr. McGilded's possessions? I can't tell you something like that, Sunshine. What is it? Is it, Inspector? Investigating secrets? Yes, exactly. You should know all about that. Magnus McGilded, who died so unexpectedly after his trial 2 months ago. A man renowned throughout the capital for his great contributions to public life. Yet he has a dark side too. Where are you going with this, Van Zeeks? I suppose the police are dealing with the aftermath of his nefarious activities, are they? That's enough. Coppers like me have duties to carry out that we're not at liberty to talk about. That's all you need to know. Duties conferred by Lord Strongheart, I presume. The Lord Chief Justice appears to have great faith in you, Inspector. The bottom line is, if you want to get more out of me, you're gonna need Lord Strongheart's paw print first. What's all this about? It's like there's something going on between Gregson and Lord Van Zeeks here. Well, it would appear that the inspector has revealed all he is at liberty to reveal. Mr. Graydon, let us return to your testimony. Gladly, my lord. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night.
Hold it!
But perhaps you'd seen something of value among the forfeit items. No, not at all. Oh? A valuer was brought in by the police to assess everything in the shop. Without exception, every article on the shelf was a common or garden bric-a-brac. In that case, it's clear that you broke into the shop later that day in order to recover Mr. McGilded's disc. Have you not been listening, man? Even if I wanted to recover the disc, you may recall that it had been seized by the police that afternoon, but he had mentioned that there should be 2 discs. Keep in mind, it was no more in the shop that night. It was no more in the shop that night than I. As I keep saying, I simply had no reason to break in. So there was nothing of McGilden's left in the shop that night? Nothing this man might have been after? I wonder if that's really true. Rona, if some evidence, then let him have it. I'm dying to see what irritatingly assured expression of his crumble. McGilden slipped the disc in his coat pocket and had it deposited at Windybanks. Then when he realized that he going to be arrested on suspicion of the omnibus murder, he threatened Gina and forced her to take the redemption ticket. There's no doubt about it. That witness is lying through his teeth, pearly white teeth. The police were obviously after anything left behind by McGilden as well. That's why Inspector Gregson ended up taking the disc into custody that day. But Gregsy being very strange about all this. There must be a reason for that, I'm sure. Just don't know what it is. For now, I need to focus on exposing the fact that Mr. Graydon is lying in his testimony. There's a note on the disc saying for McGilded, but the item belongs to me. I want to look real quick. What was that? Was that another one? Small box. Okay. 15th February. Yeah, there was another ticket. Yeah.
Hold it!
Would you care to explain how this belongs to you? As you will observe, a communications officer such as myself demands a fine salary. We're back at the beginning, aren't we? Okay. We did these. Okay, let's get back to this. We've read all these. Yeah. Okay, let's get past these. Come on. There was an article, and the article was taken by the police. In other words, the reason to break in. Okay, wait. ticket.
Objection.
This disc was deposited at Windy Banks on Magnus McGilda's instructions. You knew that, and you went there with the intention of obtaining it for yourself.
Objection.
Conjecture again. In any case, the disc was taken into custody by the police that afternoon. The witness had no reason to visit the pawnbroker again that night.
Objection.
Sorry, my learned friend. But that's not true. What? Mr. McGilden had another article on pawn at Windy Banks, as this second pawnbroker ticket proves. Oh, he didn't like that. There were 2 articles belonging to Mr. McGilden in Windy Banks pawnbrokery, and the reason you broke into the shop that night was to discover the second one. Together with your 2 accomplices, the Skulkin brothers. This is the second ticket, is it? What had the man deposited? The article description reads, 1 small box. A rather vague description, it seems to me. Are you suggesting that I broke into the pawnbrokery with these clowns in order to steal some trinket box? I believe there are adequate grounds to suspect that you did. This is absurd. Why on earth would I do such a thing? Once that article has been forfeited, I would simply walk into the shop and purchase it. There would be absolutely no need for me to resort to theft. That's a good point. Indeed. The witness makes a solid argument. So that means that for some reason, this Graydon fellow needs a small box that very night, does it?
Objection.
It's time to put an end to this nonsense, my lord. Could you be a little less cryptic, Lord Benzies? I do hate to ruin my learned friend's argument, but the truth is quite incontrovertible. On the night in question, no small box was taken from Windy Banks pawnbrokery. And rest assured, the prosecution can prove it. Well, yeah, because Gina slammed the door, locked it, and we walked in on him. Inspector, show the photographic prints to the court, please. Yes, sir. What prints? These prints were taken from one of the detective's security cameras. Ah, Hurley's red-handed recorder again. As previously explained, using this plan of the shop layout, the victim's establishment was furnished with automatic cameras in 2 locations. One was set to capture the counter where Mr. Windy Banks received his customers. The other was set to capture the shelves on which articles were placed for sale once forfeited. According to the information on this ticket, McGilda's small box had been forfeited already. 2 days before the incident at 9 p.m. on 13th April to be precise, which means it would have been on the shelves of forfeited items in the shop front. Now, what I have here is a print taken by one of the cameras about 2 hours before the incident. At 11 p.m. on 15th April. The victim certainly had a very full shop, it would appear. And then, here we have another print. This one was taken about 2 hours after the incident. I see. So we have 2 pictures to compare. Though I must say, that placing them side by side leaves me cold. Dear me, that's starting to make my head ache. Obviously, at Scotland Yard, we considered theft as one possible motive in this case. We explored the possibility that something had been taken in addition to the victim's life. So your men have already compared these 2 prints thoroughly, Inspector? Yes, sir. They're probably going to show that someone riffled through it, though. We count every single item in each of these 2 photographic prints. And the yard's conclusion is that exactly the same number are present in both. In other words, nothing was taken from the pawnbrokery on the night in question. And my learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy. Uh-oh. I don't believe it. I could just show that he's stolen McGilden's pawn box. I might have been able to break him down at last. You know what, Bruno? I've been thinking. I wonder if these two photographs really are exactly the same. What? Well, of course. So, counsel, in the light of the evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? Seems that, in fact, on the night in question, nothing was stolen from the victim's establishment. Do you accept the prosecution's assertion? I don't know. Could there be a hidden discrepancy in these two photographic prints somehow? Before I get my answer, my lord, I'd like to try something if I may. Try something? What do you mean, counsel? I'll need to use a certain piece of evidence from the court records to identify the discrepancy. I'm not entirely sure I follow. Which piece of evidence do you intend to use to help you identify a discrepancy between the two prints?
Take that!
I'd like to use this device, my lord, to view the two prints stereoscopically. Ooh! Yes, you got the bug at last. You can't resist it, can you? You got the cross-eyed compulsion. Number 3, what a surprise. Come on, Bruno. Let's put the pictures in place and see what this wonderful contraption shows us. There we go, now look through the eyepiece. Ooh. I wasn't sure at first, but there's a clear discrepancy between these two prints. What? You must identify the location in question for the court, counsel. Indicate the precise location of the discrepancy to which you speak.
Take that!
Granted, these two prints are almost identical. However, there is one minor discrepancy between them. What? When you view the two pictures stereoscopically, a single area stands out as being different: the location of the small box. Let me wait. Oh, unbelievable! It's funny seeing him with that. He's still got it over there. Oh, he's cross-eyed. By Jove, you're right. How extraordinary. What this tells us is very simple. Mr. McGilden's small box was indeed not stolen from the Windy Banks on the night in question. However, there can be no doubt that somebody picked up this particular box and then returned it to its place on the shelves. Are you suggesting that the small box originally deposited by Mr. McGilden is in fact... Yes, the very small box I just identified in those photographic prints. Mindless guesswork. What if it was? So a box was moved on the shelf. Nothing was stolen, which means, quite simply, that nothing has changed. That may be true, but... Alright, McGilden's box wasn't stolen then. But doesn't the fact that it was moved like that change things? I believe this changes everything about the case. How can that possibly be? The crucial point is the fact that what was moved was a small box. In other words, we have to consider what might have been inside that box. Oh, the anger face. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that we need to examine that box as soon as possible. A vital piece of evidence is sitting on the shelf at Windy Banks as we speak.
Objection!
That won't be necessary. Some little box belonging to a man who died 2 months ago can't possibly be relevant to this trial. The court does not uphold your objection, Lord Van Zeek. Bailiff, arrange for the officer to go to Baker Street at once. Obtain the small box in question and bring it back here for further examination. The stare down. We should have a report within half an hour. I think perhaps we should recess for a short while till evidence is brought forth. To be hoodwinked by such a farce? Disappointing. I beg your pardon, Lord Van Zeeks. This is nothing but a smokescreen. A Nipponese specialty, it would seem. What are you trying to say? My lord friend has persisted with the same line of reasoning from the very beginning. This witness's intent was to steal an article belonging to Mr. McGillard from the pawnbrokery. Yet common sense tells us that none of the articles have value enough to be worth stealing in the first place. Exactly. It'd be beyond absurd to break into a place for a purpose of stealing such a commonplace property. If your lordship recalls, Mr. McGillard perished 2 months ago, immediately after the conclusion of his trial. A trial in which he was found not guilty. A trial in which it was established he was the upstanding member of society his reputation implied, in fact. I propose a toast to my learned friend in his most insightful defense. The articles this upstanding member of society pawned were entirely ordinary. A black overcoat that just happened to have a music box disc in one of his pockets and a small box. Though he's admitting that's not his overcoat. I assure you. Excuse me. I wouldn't accept even if the man tried to make a gift of such things to me. You know, that does make rather a lot of sense. Not as if he has gold or jewels in it, though. Is it, though? Oh, goodness. Throat irritation. The prosecution argument is undeniably compelling. It is an incumbent on the defense now to bolster its argument. To explain what possible significance these commonplace articles pawned by this fine citizen could have. Well, counsel, is your argument in fact demonstrable? Are you able to show proof that the disc or the box are in any tangible way related to this case? Well, what's the matter, Runo? We know that they're related, don't we? They're both vital pieces of evidence. Yes, of course. You and I both know that. We know McGillard's true nature, and we know the disc is significant, even if we don't know why. But if we explain all that to the court at this point, we'll have to acknowledge that McGillard's acquittal 2 months ago was a mistake. That the defense's argument was flawed, based on false information. Oh no. That would mean admitting that Gina committed perjury. But Ginny, could it be that Van Zeek knows? Is that why he's doing this now? Because he anticipated everything? But maybe this could be a great opportunity for us. Sorry? What do you mean, Iris? Well, what is it that you always say, Runo? Sooner or later, the truth comes out. Every time. Alright. The exact significance of the things that McGillard deposited in Mr. Windybanks. Something that only Gina can explain to the court. But if I put her on the stand to testify about that, it could critically damage our chance of winning this case. What's the right thing to do here? Trying to decide. I actually am not sure what the right choice is. Okay. Okay, let's have her testify. My lord, the defense would like to make a proposal. Oh, what proposal, counsel? While the court awaits the arrival of Mr. McGilden's small box, I would like to call the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, to the witness stand. The defendant? To what end? It's to do with the various articles deposited at Windy Banks by Mr. McGilden, my lord. Miss Lestrade has information related to them. I believe it would be beneficial for the court to hear what she has to say. It will provide the significance of the articles in question once and for all. Well, things are becoming interesting. I presume you've considered the implications of the testimony you're proposing. In particular, the impact it will have on the accused's standings, and indeed your own. I have. Lord Van Zeeks, would you care to explain the last remark? The prosecution accepts the defense's proposal. I move to interrupt the cross-examination of the current witness and hear from the accused herself. Very well, if you have no objection. So, the court will now hear the testimony of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. You witnesses currently in the stand may step down until further noticed. Don't you go anywhere, though. I shall bid you good day. Wait. You, sir, shall remain in the stand while Miss Lestrade testifies. As you wish. Alright then, Gina. It's time. I know this will be hard, but please, put your faith in me here. Good luck, Runa. The articles that Mr. McGilden had deposited in Windy Bank's pawnbrokery are intimately related with the omnibus case, the trial of which was heard in the courtroom 2 months ago. Yes, I remember this young lady being brought before me in that trial as well. That's right, my lord. Her testimony helps to establish the innocence of the defendant, Mr. McGilden. Omnibus case was intriguing, to say the least. And now here we all are again, the same players in that trial, facing each other once more. A twist of fate, perhaps, my Nipponese friend. Allow me to recap the events of 2 months ago. An old brickmaker was stabbed to death in an omnibus running along London's winter streets. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGilden. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder, but as the trial progressed, another possibility emerged. That the murder, in fact, took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck, with the body then being dropped through the skylight into the carriage below. It was Miss Lestrade whose testimony brought that possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Miss Lestrade was concealed under a seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of the murder, Mr. McGilden died in this very courtroom in the most extraordinary of circumstances. A mystery that remains unsolved even now, 2 months on. As indeed does the omnibus murder itself. Be that as it may, I recall neither the disc nor the small box being mentioned in the course of those proceedings. Miss Lestrade? Would you tell the court now, please? What really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago, I mean? I don't know what you mean. I already said all of what I know. And what about everything you told us yesterday from inside your prison cell? Please, Miss Lestrade. This is extremely important. But... Remember, little girl. If it transpires that you willfully withheld information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will seek to prosecute you for perjury. And naturally, you will lose all credibility as a witness. Although, let's face facts, you have little credibility to lose. Aw, they're being so mean to her. Jenny, don't listen to him. Please, you have to trust Runo now. Iris, we're on your side. All right then. I'll talk. It's the right choice, Gina. Well, it would seem that my learned friend is bent on bringing the entire courtroom down about his ears. So be it. I must confess that I'm struggling to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it would appear that Mr. McGillis' pawn articles in that extraordinary case of the omnibus here harbor secrets of which we have been hitherto unaware. So, Miss Lestrade, you will now give your testimony before the court about the events 2 months ago. You will reveal the truth, a commodity sorely lacking in your original statements. This is it then. Everything's going to come out. Like Van Zeke said, this could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears. But as a lawyer, I'm prepared to take that risk. The real truth. Truth is that Brickmaker Cove was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw the disc on the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a scream from over my head, and that pair on the roof deck went off to call the slops. That's when McGill slipped the driver some tin to do a run to the pawn shop round back. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one about what I'd seen or heard. Good grief, this is outrageous. But what you've just told the court bears almost no resemblance to your testimony 2 months ago. As you say, my lord. Then there's every chance I may have educated an error in McGilda's trial. It sounds very much to me as if the man deliberately deceived this court in an effort to cover up the most wicked of schemes. Without doubt, your lordship is correct. Great injustice was done in the courtroom 2 months ago. The actions of the accused in that trial of this witness and my learned friend are entirely inexcusable. I don't believe it. The whole trial was a farce, and it was all lies that McGilden fellow was brought to the court. It's like that pickpocket. Don't forget the lawyer from the East. They're all in it together. You're wrong, the lot of you. Mr. Naruto, the lawyer here, he didn't know nothing about it. Humbug. I don't think so. Are we really expecting to believe that? He really stitched everyone up, did he? What operation to get a man off scot-free? Unforgivable. Stop. The lies have to stop. Stop. Yes, the defense made a terrible error of judgment. I intended to take full responsibility and suffer whatever consequences are deemed appropriate. However, it's imperative that the court allows the witness to elaborate on her testimony, because the true significance of Mr. McGilden's pawn articles must be brought to light. Very well. My learned student friend. Given the depths of the calamity you have just plunged yourself into, this may well be worth hearing. Words fail me. The situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. Of course, my lord. Blimey, Mr. Naruhodo. Now, counsel. Proceed with the cross-examination. The real truth of the omnibus. Alright, truth is the Brickmaker Cove was in the cabinet at the omnibus the whole time. And you were hiding in the cabinet at the time as well, weren't you, Miss Lestrade? If I remember right, in the storage compartment underneath one of the seats. Yeah, that's right. It's pitch black under there, so you can't see nothing at all. Now, in your testimony 2 months ago, I feel certain that you claim Mr. McGilda was the sole passenger, did you not? False testimony, my lord. That's what he told me I had to say. It's important that you tell us the truth now. Were Mr. McGilda and the victim acquaintances? I don't know, but I did hear him talking a lot. What were they talking about? Well, I couldn't hear too well, but if I had to say, I think it was about money or something. He kept talking about buying and not buying. Perhaps business dealings of some kind. Well, anyway, they got louder and louder. It started to sound like a proper fight. I was pretty scared by then. I hardly dared to breathe, and then, all of a sudden, I heard a noise like something keeling over on the floor. It was blooming loud and all. I believe you let out an involuntary scream. Yeah, that what gave me away. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw the disc on the floor.
Hold it!
Was the disc you saw this disc? Yeah, I reckon it probably was. It was right next to the cove lying on the floor. Could this disc have belonged to the victim, perhaps? I don't know, but McGilden picked it up pretty smartish. And then he sat the cove with the knife in his belly up on the seat. What did he say to you at that time? He told me not to say a word about what I'd seen or heard to no one. About the disc and all. I was dead scared the way he was looking at me, I thought. If I didn't go along with it, I get stuck with the knife too. Then he started asking me a little questions. What my name was, where I was living at, and that. Asked me about being a diver too. After a while, what happened in the carriage was noticed. Yeah, that's right. First there was kind of a rapid noise. All of a sudden I heard a scream from over my head, and a pair of them on the roof deck went off to call the slops. There were two gentlemen occupying the seats on the roof deck, I believe. That's right. He must have looked down through the skylight and noticed the cove with the knife in his gut. When they screamed, the driver pulled up the horses and McGilden got me outside. Out of sight? Where? Back under the seat where I started off. Once the carriage came to a halt, the two coves from the roof ran off to fetch the slops. They immediately left to fetch the police. It appeared that they were entirely unrelated to the incident. So that left McGilden, the driver, and you still at the scene. Yeah, only the driver didn't know I was there because I was under the seat. I heard the cabin door open and a voice from outside. The driver, yes. He also testified in the trial, I believe. A fellow who went by the name of Beppo, if memory serves. Beppo. What did McGilden and the driver say to each other? I don't know what happened and stuff like that mainly. That's when McGilden slipped the driver some tin to do a run to the pawn shop roundabout. That pawn shop obviously being Windy Banks on Baker Street. Just a moment, counsel. Do you mean to tell me that the driver gave false testimony in that trial as well? Perhaps an excursion of the pawnbroker slipped his mind when he was in the stand. Indeed, Lord Manzeeks. McGilden took off his coat and gave it to the driver. He folded it up all careful-like before handing it over. Then I saw him do it. I remember thinking, that coat ain't what's in it ain't gonna be worth a few bobs. Yes, you know, sure the disc would be worth more than Mr. Windybanks was suggesting, wasn't she? I remember her quibbling with him over the price that afternoon at the pawnbrokery. The driver looked pretty happy when McGilden flashed some brass in his face. He went running off at a lick. Then the bog trotter called to me and told me to come out from the dragon's cabin. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one but what I'd seen or heard. Threaten you? How exactly? Told me I'd only be able to scarp her if I did exactly what he said. Which included giving false testimony in court 2 months ago. Yeah, that's it. There was about one other thing he said. Which was? He told me I have to hang on to the ticket from the pawnbroker shop and make sure not to lose it. The ticket? Well, I never. Said that if he didn't show up to get the ticket off me before 2 months passed, I have to go to the pawn shop and pay the money to keep it in lug to stop it being forfeited. He left me with some brass to pay for it. But really, why on earth would Mr. McGilden have done such a thing? Positing his overcoat at a pawnbroker's before the arrival of the police. Makes no sense at all. There would seem to be only one logical explanation, my lord. What McGilden had the driver deposit at Windy Banks was something that he didn't want the police to see. Something very important. that he needed to hide at all costs. Anyway, after that, he let me go, so I legged it before the copper showed up. Well done, Gina. I can't have been easy to tell the truth like that. Ginny's really put her faith in you, Bruno. Yes, and to thank her, she'll have to face a charge of perjury once this trial's over. I need to use the time we have now to get as much information out of her as possible. Time to really go for it. Press her on every statement. I suppose I should. Oh, another thing. What's that? Take a look at those two. Isn't it strange that they've been whispering to each other the entire time? Yes, that is strange. Looks like they're having a secret discussion about something. I hadn't even looked at them. I'm not sure if it's completely comfortable with that, or if there's something I can do about it. Really quick, I need to hit the restroom. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Truth is, Brickmayer Cove was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw the disc on the floor. What? Can't go over to them unless they say something. Let's see here. Let me look at this. Not much notes. Words. I ask about that ticket. This might be not.
Objection.
That reveals an inconsistency in the last statement. Oh, he's gonna hit me. That's not what. Okay, I don't think I'm supposed to probably. Yeah, I wasn't supposed to. I don't think I'm supposed to present anything. Just press her.
Hold it. Excuse me.
Is there something you'd like to share with the court, Inspector Gregson and Mr. Graydon? Mr. Graydon. What? Blimey, you trying to give me a heart attack? You have been whispering to each other for quite some time now. Tell us, what is the discussion about? Discussion? With this fellow? Pull the other one, Sunshine. Think I've got something to talk about with a shady gent like this? I have nothing to say to this uncouth detective after he deprived me of that disc that was rightfully mine. But they've clearly been talking the entire time I've been cross-examining Gina. It's as if they've been negotiating. Thank you, Miss Lestrade. Thank you, Counsel. I've heard enough. I believe we now have a reasonable understanding of what actually transpired on the omnibus. It appeared on the night, 2 months ago, a negotiation was taking place on the omnibus. A negotiation concerning the disc. However, matters did not run smoothly. When the parties involved began to quarrel over price, Magilda took what he thought wanted by force, at the expense of the other man's life. Which proves my point, the disc is clearly extremely valuable in some way. But I don't understand why as of yet. 2 days ago, precisely 2 months after the omnibus incident, McGilda's coat and its contents were due to be forfeited. I didn't know what I would do with the ticket. What I should do with the ticket. I mean, the cove died right after its trial. I knew that. So you decided you would try to claim the articles as your own. Well, why not, eh? They were going to be forfeited. Why shouldn't I have got them? Anyway, you can't blame him for thinking about it. Thinking ain't no crime. Miss Lestrade, it would appear Mr. McGilded was prepared to kill in order to take possession of this disc. Do you know why that would be? I ain't got a clue. But I reckon it must be worth a fair bit of brass. He was probably going to sell it. And you can't blame him for thinking that. Thinking it ain't no crime. My lord. The evidence your lordship requested has been located and is ready for the court's inspection, sir. A mysterious little box deposited by Miss McGilda 2 months ago. There's no doubt in my mind that it's a key piece in this far-fetching puzzle. This was the chapter. Okay, the chapter's going to end here. So we should have one more chapter after this, I believe. Where we tie all the rest of the pieces together. So I hope you've all enjoyed that very much. I have, I always do. Hopefully next time my throat isn't quite so iffy. But I hope you've enjoyed that. And I'll see you all next time. I thank you, Wear Machine, for stopping in and chatting and gifting a sub to Tanker Dude, and Tanker Dude for giving us a follow. It's been so wonderful. So I will see you all next time in another episode of The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Bye, everyone.